Hi, it's Fee here, the healthy vegan and author. In New Zealand, we are really concerned about meeting the Paris Agreement commitments for greenhouse gas emissions. Yay! So there are two camps. One is saying that we should separate short-lived gases from the long-lived gases and come at it from the different angles. The New Zealand gross emissions are hugely influenced by methane producing animals like cows, and it's way more than any other developed country. Well, maybe not Uruguay, but we're right there at the top of methane production. So one would think on that basis that the cow's farts, or burps to people who don't like me saying the word fart, would be the main area to look at. I heard the funniest thing the other day on our TV news. The Federated Farmers Vice President came out and said, basically, my cow goes out, eats some grass, has a burp, that goes into methane, hangs around for about 12.5 years, breaks down, grows another blade of grass, and it's a cycle that happens. What? It was like a bizarre. So that cow only burps once? I don't think so. He keeps on burping. But perhaps the farmer doesn't know how to do maths. And I tell you what, I only got about 8% for national math exams when I was at school. But even I can kind of like see the total illogical mathematical discrepancy that's going on here. So let's get a little bit technical here. Methane's contribution to greenhouse gas or to greenhouse warming is 20 times that of CO2 on a per molecule basis. Now, methane may be more potent, but it only stays in the atmosphere for 12.5 years. Then it converts to carbon dioxide. Just remember that little gem. So what the farmers are saying is that the amount of methane going into the atmosphere is roughly equal to the amount that is leaving, because it's being converted to the carbon dioxide. So there's really no loss or gain. So the burp that happens today will be converted in 12.5 years, and the burps that happened 12.5 years ago are being converted today. So every day there is a conversion of past burps. So the methane kind of like is going to stay the same. Okay, so now this is where I beg to differ. In my probably illogical mind, if we keep increasing the number of farmed animals, because it's not just dairy, you see, it's chickens and pigs also. They create methane from their manure. And honestly, we are increasing the number of chicken farms in particular. So we are going to have more methane going up than what is leaving. And unless we decrease the number of farmed animals, we will always be that one burp more. I also don't understand the difference, and maybe someone might be able to enlighten me on this. I don't understand the difference between the carbon dioxide that is from a fossil fuel, etc., and the carbon dioxide that the methane converts to after the 12.5 years. Are they one and the same, or does methane actually even convert to carbon dioxide? I mean, I don't get it. That's what my understanding is that's what it converted to. And I've heard that from scientists. But, you know, it's like, is it the same thing? Because the farmers are saying that the methane, carbon dioxide, CO2, comes back to make the grass. That sounds illogical, because when it converts, wouldn't it just get absorbed up with the rest of the CO2? Now, don't get me wrong, carbon emissions are also a very real problem and fossil fuels have to go, etc. But it pains me to think that our government has hedged the issue, and I think it's because A, it's easier to decrease carbon emissions here in New Zealand, or B, the dairy industry is so much more of a money puller for New Zealand. So our government has proposed 3 pathways to be net zero emissions by 2050. All right. So the first one, to be net zero in carbon dioxide. No mention of methane at all. Right. Number 2, net zero in all emissions. Yay! That's the one I'd go for. Number 3, net zero in carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide, and to stabilize methane. It might be the shortest lived gas, but boy, we have so much of it that it's actually the biggest lot of gas that we emit. Wouldn't you think that we would tackle that first? There's a climate scientist at the University of Chicago, Dr. Raymond T. Pierre Humbert. He said it best. Methane is like a hangover that you can get rid of if you stop drinking. CO2 is more like lead poisoning. It sticks around, you don't get rid of it, and it causes irreversible harm. Now, like I said, we are producing more methane than any other gas. Why are we not getting over the hangover by gradually reducing the number of agricultural animals? There's a public consultation that's going on regarding those 3 pathways that I mentioned. It's going to wrap up in about 5 or 6 weeks' time. I just hope that there is more pressure put on the methane emissions. I mean, even Greenpeace is stunned and calls it a cop-out. That's my rant for today. Remember, have great food, make it plant-based, and be compassionate to all animals, including humans. Bye for now.